With this lunar eclipse this weekend, we will have entered a radical review period. And once you step through the portal of this lunar eclipse, there's no turning back. Oh, hello, beautiful souls. This is Masami. I hope you are doing well and taking care of yourself and others well. Let's go into this lunar eclipse and also eclipses in general. So in general, eclipses are unusual events. And I've been saying this pretty much this entire month as we are moving through this season of eclipses. And this season has been pretty challenging, pretty intense for all of us across the globe. And this is why I wanted to create the program to take all of us through. And this is why I've been making a little more videos on the YouTube. So hopefully this has been helpful for you to follow through on this. And this lunar eclipse in Taurus has a disrupting energy far more than the other eclipses that we've experienced in recent years as a major turning point in our lives. Plus, do not treat this full moon eclipse like a regular full moon, everyone. I'm hearing all these like a full moon get together over the weekend and full moon dance and full moon this and that, but it has more of a new moon energy than the full moon because of the eclipse energy. And I had a client who was going to do a full moon celebration this weekend, and my recommendation was to look at this moon as a new moon and shift her focus, her perspectives from doing kind of a regular full moon practices to shifting into kind of that new moon energy that really holds us in the womb kind of a feeling. And I'll put a link below here because I've done many, many new moon videos, but there's one in particular that I did about a year ago that is still very relevant. So I'll put a link below so you can check that out. And I highly recommend you rewatch that if you've watched it once, and then maybe revisit some of the energies of the new moon before the eclipse starts and over the weekend as well. And let's go into maybe what this eclipse does to our physical body as well. So it's not the time for us to add more because full moon, up to coming into full moon, we are accumulating a lot of fluids. So, and then we're going to all of a sudden go into the new moon, right? So there's this kind of a confusing flip that happens. So make sure that it's not the time for you to be focusing on adding more, getting more, accumulating more, and then checking into what I have manifested, even physically, mentally, emotionally. And so up to the full moon, it is important to take care of yourself as if you're reaching for the full moon. And I've talked a lot about how to take care of your body as you reach the full moon. But as we enter into the lunar eclipse, it's best that you treat it, like I said, this is a new moon. And our bodies can go into a confused states. And, you want to support that body because eclipses can be a little bit shocking to our own body. It's like a sudden shifts in the fluids, energetic directions, and reversal flow of things. So just be aware of all that. Maybe your sleep patterns, maybe where you hold fluids, they may flip and change. So it's best to stay connected, not add more things to do, and create a little bit more of that stillness and silence as your practice as well. And energetically and mentally, this one has the energy of one last time kind of energy, or like a final statement kind of thing. It's questioning the status quo one last time. This eclipse is definitely, and examining the old patterns on this earth one last time. One, because this is the last eclipse in the sign of Taurus in a long time, and therefore it has the energetic pull toward earthly matter. Okay, so it's like the moon energy is asking us one more time, take a look at it one more time. Is this really the direction that you want to take yourself into, or collectively as well? It's really the time of radical review, like I said at the beginning of this video. As we stand at the collective crossroads, it's so important that we all individually take the time to review our lives. And I will mention that a little bit more later on in this video too, what to focus on. So this lunar eclipse is disrupting the status quo, disrupting to your patterns and internal rhythm as well. And you can become, uncomfortable because you've been maybe searching for things that's been comfortable for you for so long that this lunar eclipse is going to disrupt that comfort zone in you. And shocking events are here to bring you back to addressing individual and collective patterns and conflicts that they present, but that we have gotten used to and into. So make sure you pause, take a look at your internal rhythms, your patterns that you have become comfortable with, maybe the society has comfortable with, and some of the shocking events that we're already experiencing pre-lunar eclipse are going to really turn us upside down. It can be very confusing to our body, mind, and emotionally and spiritually as well. And personally, you might have thought you were starting to have the clear focus, maybe, starting in September and October, and you were beginning to see and glimpses of the illuminating light of your own self and finding your inner light again and finding authentic self. And you're starting to become kind of like, I know what my authentic self looks like. Maybe you have some languages to describe what that is. And you're starting to get closer to that. But suddenly, like the full moon suddenly goes into this partial lunar eclipse and having a new moon energy all of the sudden, you realize that you were still following or chasing after your old patterns. Even though you thought this is the light, this is my authentic self, it's like this lunar eclipse is going, wait a minute, I'm going to shake this and I'm going to turn you upside down so that you can reassess this again. And you realize that, you have been working on your own life, but you might be slipping into your old patterns, like previous understanding of success, maybe old relationships, old comfort zones that you've been chasing without you even recognizing or noticing, or you probably weren't conscious of it. So this lunar eclipse is a gift in a way. It's a very challenging and upsetting of the status quo kind of a wake-up call, but we are all feeling this. So when you take the time this weekend to look at yourself deeply, you realize that you are still trying to do things still based on your old self, the previous self. And these patterns are what the lunar eclipse will disrupt in you, because this lunar eclipse has such a one more time kind of energy and the disruptive energetic fields that will wake all of us up. So one suggestion that I have for all of us to do is to go back to about 18 years ago. What patterns did you pick up then, and patterns that you are replaying over and over since? So 18 years ago, 2005, I looked back at the historical things that happened during that year, and it was the Hurricane Katrina, and it made the landfall around the U.S. Gulf Coast. And there was the first joint China-Russia military exercises. A lot of similarities are unfolding this year. And that year, Israel demolished the multiple settlements and withdrew its army from Gaza Strip also. And there was a 7.6 magnitude earthquakes in Pakistan that killed more than 86,000 people. And the trial of the Saddam Hussein started. So there's a lot going on just in the US alone. There's been a lot of lawsuits, a lot of trials going on with, politicians and public figures. So there's that, and there's a connection between China and Russia and their allies coming together. And I don't need to mention what's been going on in Israel and Gaza, but all these things, it's pretty fascinating to go back 18 years and take a look what's going on. Even the recent hurricane that hit the coast of Mexico as well. So when you pause here and revisit some of these events, you can see the through line from 2005 to current geopolitical climate. So what were some of the pivotal moments and events in your life that you were experiencing then and you are being asked to revisit now, especially during the lunar eclipse weekend? And this year, whether we are conscious of it or not, we have made a decision not to return to how things used to be. I think most of us made that commitment at the beginning of this year as well. But during this lunar eclipse, it's worth revisiting some of your decisions and commitments and making sure that you have not slipped back into the patterns and habits that you have promised not to repeat, and what you promised yourself not to fall back into. And when we don't do this, and when we don't take the time, we see the same old resentment, and we keep repeating the same resentment, same regrets, and even revenge can creep back up over and over and over. You can see it in the larger geopolitical climates, as well as in individual climates as well inside. So what is revealed within this eclipse period, especially this weekend, can change the paradigm, small and large scale, and become a through line for many years to come. This lunar eclipse is trying to reveal what is now needed on this earth, as well as what is required in the future for all of us. So number one, treat this full moon as if this is the new moon, new beginning, new phase of many things, and use this time as a radical review period for you and for collective, and disrupt your old patterns, disrupt some of your stable, comfortable zones, because maybe all these need to be looked at, and you may need to stop chasing the comfort zones over and over, because otherwise we will be repeating these things historically, individually, and collectively over and over and over. I look forward to being with you again soon. Thank you for being you. And if these kind of videos are very helpful for you, please subscribe by clicking on the subscribe button below and give me a thumbs up. It helps me a lot. That makes me want to keep putting some of these videos out there for all of you. Nice to be with you. Namaste.